Yeah, what are you saying, a Specimen here? Today, it is another effort at Syndicate. Definitely, as a disclaimer, Syndicate is the worst faction this season so far. I think Syndicate, Squaretail's up there as well for being one of the worst. Obviously, Nilfgaard and Skellige at the top, sort of Northern Realms and Monsters seemingly in the middle. But I do think that Syndicate is the worst by quite a distance. Obviously, a lot of the new cards kind of awkward to work with, but doesn't mean we can't try and make something good. So this is going to be my attempt at it. This is going to be a devotion deck. As you can tell by the title, it's not great against SK because we do go particularly tall. But if you can win round one, you can sometimes push them and try and, you know, do a decent job against them. So let's build the deck. I mean, starting off, it is going to be a devotion deck now. That means we're only going to use Syndicate cards. There is an argument. You could not play devotion and you could use cards like Aneromancy and Portal. But for this one, the devotion payoff isn't massive, but it is kind of important on Ulrich, who gets you a 2-point boost onto a Fallen Knight that we're going to be using. So Fallen Knight's basically your best chance at this deck being good because it's a very great card. Unfortunately, the rest of the cards that we got aren't as good. So essentially, it's trying to maximize the points off this Fallen Knight. And actually, this 2-point buff that you get off a Fallen Knight is really important because it puts it at 6 strength as opposed to 4. Obviously, not as many cards are able to deal with a 6 strength card as a 4 strength card. So we are building around the Fallen Knight. So Ulrich is a card that's going to be able to play it. And also Igor, I do think, is a key card in trying to get this to work. So Igor has in the past been very good with Townsfolk. He obviously got a rework so that you couldn't just spam him on one turn. He does have a cooldown of 1. But you can spend 5 coins or 5 of his power to spawn another Fallen Knight into his row, which can be really good in just securing the round. In a short round 3, it can be great, or in a long round. But predominantly, your short round 3 needs to be your game plan with this deck. You can maybe try and win round 1 and bleed round 2, just like you normally would with a senior, and a short round 3 with El Gordo does still seem like the best way of playing this. We do have one other devotion payoff. In Syndicate, there's 3 options you've got for devotion. The Mutants Maker, which has one of the best premiums I've seen of this expansion, which is Sensimen. Wait for it. So a really cool premium, but alas, he's too low tempo for this sort of a deck, so we're not using him. Like I say, Portal could still be an option, more similar to the first list I shared with you, but I think this is a better way to go. You're then going to need like your thinning and consistency cards, especially because you're not using Portal. So Justice, Bank, you're also going to be using Furco as well as Excommunication, which is just still one of my favourite cards in Syndicate. Now, there's a few other ways you can go around building this, but of course, because we're playing Senior, because we're playing Gord, let's put the crime cards in first of all. We've got space for 5 more units. I'm going to throw a Penance in there because it's pretty clear actually he's going to be in there. And I think also Helvede is just a little bit too good not to use. Now, Dizere is an interesting one, whether it's worth it or not. It is damaging an enemy unit by 3 and boosting all Firesworn units by 1. But if you kill that unit, it's going to boost all allied units. It is a crime, so you can shoot it with Furco. I'm properly on the fence about this card. I feel like 9 provisions would be much more fair. We'll decide if it's in the deck because it's one of the sort of later editions. We might just need it for that power, but obviously it's not that much better than a Bone Talisman. We would lose Devotion. Congregation, just an amazing card now with the... it's going to buff your Fallen Knights by 4 points. So this card just becomes an incredible value card in this deck. We're using 2 Assaults, 2 bloody good funds as well, so no surprises there. Now, we do need a Justice target. And the beautiful thing about not playing Portal is it allows you to play Bare Knuckle Brawler as your Justice target rather than the Crown Splitter Thug, because this is not a proactive play, and in Gore decks you really need that. You need proactive plays, and yeah, the Bare Knuckle Brawler does that, and you can actually run 2 of them as well. The reason you can't really play this in Portal decks with Justice is because you might play both of them with your Portal, and then your Justice is bricked and it's really awkward. So we are able to run 2 Bare Knuckle Brawlers. Now, we've got 1 unit left. We've got space for 1 unit, and then the rest are going to be specials. And there's a big consideration at this point. because Ulrich can be super awkward if you're only running Fallen Knights, 2 of them. This card, if you've got it in your hand on its own and you don't have a Fallen Knight, can easily brick. And a really nice spend it in at 5 provisions is the Cleric of the Flaming Rose. You can spend your 2 profit to spawn a Zealot, which obviously has some good synergy with your Fallen Knights. Of course, also if you're going to run Dies Array. And you can also spend 1 coin to make a Fast One Zealot a Flaming Rose Footman, which is 1 more power but also 1 armor. I'm on the fence about this card because there is a card I love to use with Igor, and it is the Blind Eye Apocryphy. Because what you can do with this card is you can heal your Igor. So it's healing by 5, which isn't amazing, but with Igor, it gives you a chance of an extra Fallen Knight, so it can be really good. Of course, the problem arises if Igor is removed. How's that going to work? Yeah, it's a bit sketchy. The other big consideration for a unit in this range is going to be the main man, Azar. So I'm still kind of on the fence about which route to go for. Let's put the rest of the cards in first and decide from there. I think running 1 Smuggle or possibly 2 makes sense. This card's a little bit lackluster in my opinion. It's only 3 tempo, so it can be really bad round 1, especially if you're going first. The profit is a little bit nice to give you value on your bloody good fun. Also, it can contribute to your Igor and your Helveed as well, so it's not completely terrible, but I'm definitely not in love with it. And I'm sort of honestly struggling at this second in time to think what other cards we're going to throw in here, but it will come to me when I see them, I am sure. There's a few considerations, like Lieutenant Von Hurst can be pretty good. As I mentioned, Azar's pretty good. And then you're going to be looking at your special cards as well, right? So Dies Array is 1. You're definitely going to run a Tavern Brawl. That's a shoe-in card for sure. And then it pretty much comes down to, are you going to want your Defender or are you going to want your Dies Array? Because I've decided I want Igor, and fitting Dies Array in a bit awkward. But as you can see, we could, if we sack off the Defender, go for Dies Array. And we could then also go for an Apocryphy. The alternative to that would be you could go for Azar and then another Smuggle or a Wheel of Fortune. Or alternatively, completely, you could maybe ditch Igor and go for the Cleric of the Flaming Rose. But I think for maximum power, which this deck definitely needs, this is probably the list that you're seeing now. It's kind of awkward because a lot of the time you're not going to have a good engine to put down and you're going to end up putting a Fallen Knight down. It's certainly, as I say, I'm pretty sure the weakest faction, but let's see what we can do. In terms of the stratagem, I don't really think there's too much consideration. I think it's probably just worth going for the tactical advantage. You can actually use it on Igor in round 1 as well. So you could lead with Igor and then do something like that. But obviously the lack of a defender is quite scary, let's be honest. But I feel like this meta is such high tempo that actually playing the defender at times can be a little bit awkward. So let's see what we can do. I'm just gonna go for it. Win or lose, we're gonna use this game. I will probably try and bring you some Spies and some Skellige gameplay tomorrow, because to be honest, I've still not played them. I have played a little bit of Lippy Master Mirror. If you guys would be interested in that, it's quite a fun way of playing Master Mirror because you don't need the tempo in a Lippy deck, right? You could, in theory, if you get really sensible with your mulligans, you could play all your sort of Lippy tempo cards, and then you could have your Master Mirror down. And it's probably going to get removed by Decoction because everyone seems to be playing Skellige at the moment. But it's a nice way of playing Master Mirror. Unfortunately, not all the Skellige gold cards do synergize with it that well. We're up against Fruits, which is going to be an ethereal and ethereal list. I've been blamed by YouTube comments about my pronunciation, so I'll try and work on that. I do have 2 Bare Knuckle Brawlers in my deck. We've got the Fallen Knights, which is great to see. Obviously, I have not got... what's the word I'm looking for? I honestly can't remember. Yep, can't remember what I was going to say. Defender, that's it. I don't mind keeping the Bare Knuckle Brawler as a card to put down first in case he's running like a Predatory Dive. And then Igor's going to be really good in his hand on a Fallen Knight. It's actually a great hand to have here. It's arguably wrong to kick anything, to be completely honest. But I think I can probably get away with kicking a Bare Knuckle Brawler here. Helveed is also great. Wow. Almost too good this hand, but we'll see. Yeah, sod it. I think you can't really kick any of this. So you've got a couple options to start off with. You could lead with with Igor. and then you could just spawn another Fallen Knight in straight away. You could then tactical advantage him up or something like that as well. I could obviously commit Ulrich as well. I think round 1's going to be super important because I need to try and bleed fruits. I definitely need to win round 1. I don't even know if I need to bleed fruits, but I know I need to be at round 1 because otherwise it's got whatever it wants to do really. So I think Ulrich is kind of a fine play, and then I could maybe Igor next turn. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to play them on separate rows here. And this is where the buff to 6 can be really good. Obviously, lots of cards like Stunning Blows can deal with this 4 Strength Fallen Knight. And then also could deal with Igor with something better. Whereas when you're playing it like this, it's pretty difficult for them to deal with. I'm going to play Igor here. Spawn a Fallen Knight. And to be honest, I'm just going to buff Igor up straight away. So I'm obviously committing an awful lot here. But hopefully it just means I can keep my Helveed, my other 2 Fallen Knights for the next rounds. Obviously, Dai's would have been pretty nice to deal with the lava, but I just wouldn't have got any value off of it. And I'm not going to be able to deal with the ethereal, right? It's going to fill up a whole row. But we can do this with Igor. And then I can also heal up my Igor. And we should actually be able to cruise this round, right? You can see why I like a blind eye as well, right? Just gives me more value out of this. And I really don't have to do much from this point onwards. And I will take this round really comfortably. I managed to keep my next 2 Fallen Knights as well as Senior and Helveed for the push, which is going to be great. So I could easily just take my Dai's now, because I do get some half decent value off of it. Obviously, I'm going to use Igor here. And I can just let him die at this point, I suppose. The Dai's is pretty tempting because I do remove a Thrive Engine, so I'm going to take it now. Because I get the buffs on all the cards, not just the Fire Swans. And I'm cruising, right? Like Igor, you can see the value of him. Maybe in this matchup I was supposed to keep him. But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with how this has gone so far. Sure, you can see the appeal of young Igor here. Because all it takes is this smuggle is going to be an insane amount of points, right? An absolutely insane amount of points. Fallen Knights doing their job. So it's definitely a fun one. Definitely a fun one. What we're going to do now is bank and hopefully just find a congregation, because that's just going to be an insane amount of points. So Furka would do it. Justice is probably a little bit overkill. He's decided to place in the back row, which is interesting, I guess. And I'm going to bank now. Obviously I could Helveed, and I'm just going to win the round, right? But I think bank's fine. Fortunately, we kind of find a congregation. It's a bit low down from where I would have liked it, but look at that value. And this is just an easy pass. So this one congregation played for 6 points initially. It buffed up my Ulrich by 1, so that's 7, and it buffed each of these up by 4. So 11, 15, maths, 19, 23. Can't complain. We'll take our pass, right? My guy's so used to his deck just bullying people that he's not actually looked at the score. Wow, that's some pretty good Fallen Knights. You can see the value of Igor, right? And also the Ulrich buff. In a lot of matchups, that first Fallen Knight would have just been taken out, and then your strategy is completely disrupted. The power of the I was so worried. The power of the tactical advantage as well. So when you get a card out on them, which is great. I mean, obviously the ethereal combo is pretty damn nuts. We didn't even win the round. But, you know, what can you do? Not much. Not much. We get a card in him, and we've got Dai's coming back as well into our hand as our first draw. It's obviously a crime card, so it's not bad synergy with Senior. It's certainly not an amazing card, but yeah, it's alright. Now, we do need a good pass to put down on the dry pass, which in this hand I don't have, so we'd like to see a bare knuckle brawler. Hopefully my cam's in a good spot here. I got asked to move it up to see my leader a bit more. And seeing as no one's playing Syndicate, you don't need to see the coins, right? I only need to see my coins. So I'll just put that down on the dry pass. And what a great hand to go into round 3. Again, no defender is less than ideal. But it's a pretty slow play to have a defender, right? So, yeah, it is what it is, man. But Senior with Fallen Knights. Penance is great too. Assault's good as just a crime card. Obviously, we find El Gorda, which is great. I've played Bank already, so we would, of course, like to find Justice, Jaquez, Burko, so I'm going to risk a mulligan or two here. Oh, is he forfeited? Oh, what a shame. What a shame. My man forfeits. He didn't want that smoke. But, I mean, obviously, you can see my Syndicate MMR is a little bit tanked. I've been trying to play Greater Brothers as well. So I'm not sure how good this list is going to do. But, hey, look at that. We get into a second game. I don't think you're going to see something similar to that round one. But we will see. That is the best I've pulled off on the round one. We just had all the cards, right? We had the Igor, we had the Ulrich, and, yeah, we had the Desiree as well. Let's see what we can do here. Going first, less than ideal against monsters. This is going to really show you the problem of the deck, I think, unless we find a bare knuckle brawler, which this is going to help us. Because a lot of their first plays are going to be predatory dive type cards where it's like the Maruna. But again, the Ulrich on the Fallen Knight, it's a great opening hand. I think we just need to be a bit risky and kick Gord. Hopefully find him later. We find Jaquez, which honestly is not even that bad round one. I think Smuggle is a bit lackluster. I guess it's okay. Got Furco, Justice. It's a pretty damn good hand. Let's kick. Wow. I mean, his hands go. It's very, very good. Yeah, we're going to start with the bare knuckle brawler. Certainly no, like, if I had Ulrich, if you imagine, and I didn't have these two Fallen Knights, yikes, it could be really tough. It really could be. So this is probably the strongest Syndicate list that I've seen anyone play. I know Shaggy was playing with Igor quite a bit, and I also know Green Knights played something similar to this. Try and get it to work, but I believe he was not using Igor. So this is sort of like a hybrid between the two of them. I've certainly stolen a few ideas. I sort of wrote this card off, Desiree, but it's okay. It's not terrible. And you've got El Gaunter here as well, so how bad can a card of Gaunter be? I got the bare knuckle brawler down. I would obviously like to get a Fallen Knight down, because round one is going to be super important. So I think I'm going to just Ulrich onto a Fallen Knight. I've got Furco onto a Justice as well, which should be a lot of points. I think you're just going to have to push round one a lot of the time with this deck. And I do like putting these in opposite rows because, or adjacent rows, I'm not quite sure of the correct terminology. Parallel rows, I don't know. Because, I guess they're all parallel. Because it means you can play your Congregate. You need a Firesworn card. It means you can play them in either row, right? So if you fill up one row, you can still go for the other. Fortunately, he does obviously Red Riders me, which is less than ideal. But we're going to call Igor in here. I think when you've got the tactical advantage, Igor's really good value. I don't have the Apocryphy, but it is what it is, right? And we're not going to actually TA him here, because otherwise, yeah, he would take the hit from the Frost, and that would mean he does not, we couldn't use his Insanity, because you need to have him at 6 power. He's going to take 5 power of himself for the Insanity. And Igor's just good here because Fallen Knights are so good, right? As I said, I tried to play him last season on things like Cut Up Lackeys, and he just doesn't have the value on those cards. Whereas on these, as you can see, he sure does. We're going to call Justice in here now. Many options. I mean, in fairness, Tavern Brawl's great on old Igern. But yeah, I am just going to stick to my guns and all in the old Justice here. Congregation's great too. But Justice spawns a card. And it thins me. And it's also a crime card. That's a lot of buffs, right? That's a lot of buffs. In terms of the rest of my hand, a little bit awkward. Helveed obviously would get me an insane amount of points because it's going to spawn only 2 cards in though. So I think we're going to go for young Jaquez here because he's still spawning 2 cards. Even though it seems like he's not that good in round 1, actually he only improves by 2 points in round 2. And in round 3 he just gives you like Firesworn synergy. For each Firesworn you play he gets more value. So as I say, I think the plan here is just to put Jaquez down. I could commit another Fallen Knight and then Jaquez. Jaquez. I'm sure someone in chat's in my YouTube comments is going to roast me for my pronunciation. But what can you do, mate? The answer's not much. Let's just call him in, and this is probably my pass. Nope. Still gets me a lot of value, right? The main thing is, you know, we've done half decently this round. It's unfortunate that I don't have double Salamandra down anywhere. I'll double check that. Yeah, so this isn't going to be enough to kill you again. Obviously something like a Tavern Brawl, an extra Congregation here, a Blind Apocryphy, all of those sorts of cards would have been great. I could obviously play Helveed as well to just try and secure the round, and I could go for a round 2 bleed with Senior. To be fair, I think when I've got 3 Fallen Knights down, anyway, we get the pass. I think 3 Fallen Knights is probably good enough to warrant your Helveed. And you can see Jaquez is still a lot of points in round 1, even without the Devotion or the round 2, round 3 evolution. Still seems half decent, right? Okay, Blind Eye is pretty much useless for us now, so this is an easy mulligan. It's also a nice card to just put down on a dry pass though, but pretty sure we're going to push this geezer here. And we've obviously, hopefully going to find Gord for a short round 3 now. In terms of this hand, it's very good. Helveed not doing an insane amount, to be completely honest with you, but he never does that much. Obviously Dyer's Array could be pretty good, like a Congregation, but I could always find Bank. I think we're going to keep this hand. Yeah. Helveed's certainly not amazing when you don't have that many coins. So essentially, the plan for this one is I'm going to call in a Fallen Knight, and importantly, I'm going to use 1 Congregate charge, because that's going to mean his Maruna is not going to be able to steal my Fallen Knight, and also if he's playing, I may as well play and talk, right, rather than talk and play, rather than talk and not play. This blocks his Maruna, because Maruna's 4 or lower, and also if he's playing Imperial Manticore, it kills the lowest unit, or Predatory Dive kills the lowest. So I'm obviously losing a point on this Fallen Knight by not buffing it up, but it's certainly worth it to just keep these alive. Okay, next play, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to call in another Fallen Knight. I don't think it really makes a difference which row, to be completely honest. I guess I'm going to be senioring in this row, so... And importantly, you want to make sure your Zealots are next to each other, right? Let's do that. Seems good. And then we're going to spend 1 more coin. Probably put that one in the front, and then Senior, and then that's going to be my excommunication target. So you want to use excommunication as soon as you possibly can when you've got Senior on the board before any of your things are removed. Because it can essentially play for 2 crimes in 1 turn, which is just great. We also might, there is an argument to wait for it and try and find like a Tavern Brawl when we get a bit more value. You can see the Fallen Knights plus Senior. This is going to be a great bleeding round. Helveed is going to be only spawning 2 Zealots because I don't have any other coins. But I could also bank to find a few more. Definitely possible. I don't think he's going to... he can remove him with Strigger. He can remove him with Strigger. So I could just Helveed first. Let's do that.
You will answer my questions. Then I'll tear out your tongue.
I don't have, my assaults are only doing 4, right? So I can't remove these at this point. I don't have that many Salamandras in this deck at all. If any, in fact. Yeah, if any. But what it also means is I could find Dyer's Array now, which is pretty lackluster, but it does a half decent job. You could also argue this is a good time to pass now he's played Haunt. But I've just got so many points on the board that I think that would be wrong. So I'll take my value, seeing as I can kill that, may as well, right? If he doesn't proc his Thrive, I'll kill the Lava next as well. A Congregation would just be so many points, it's probably the best card we're looking for. Obviously, he might line up a Tavern Brawl as well if he plays like a Bargeist here or something like that. I'd expect him to probably play around it. But you can see Dyer's Array super lackluster here, right? Really, really lackluster. Does actually line up a potential Tavern Brawl for me. He obviously has taken me over now as well. Tavern Brawl would bring out Penance as well if I kill this Goliath True. So let's try and find that. There's no real reason to kill the Cut Up now. So we find Disarray, or we find Penance, or we find Congregation. To be honest, guys, I think it's just always Congregation. I really do. Buffs these by 4 each. Just seems better, right? Penance was going to play for not many points. Yeah, this was the best option. You see why I don't really love this card? Pretty lackluster. Very lackluster, really. Helvede's not exactly setting the world on fire either. So maybe I should have taken my pass when I had the chance. Because he's just going to try and stop me passing as best as he possibly can. We get all his leader charges out of him, but obviously like a short round against Ozerul, we don't really fancy our chances. So you could argue I've misplayed this. You could also argue I drew pretty badly not to find my bank, my other congregation. Maybe I overcommitted round 1 too. That's the other argument, right? It's certainly a difficult deck to play and do perfectly. And I've certainly not played this perfectly. I'm about to play this. Is it even enough? It's not right. Plays for 6. Bit of a sad pass there, but it is what it is. And how good was Helvede there, really? Not great. To be completely honest. Not great. Doesn't really get to spawn in that much. He plays very similar to Jacques does in round 1, really. I mean, in fairness, there's a nice bit of synergy with the Blind Eye and the Penance, so we could put the Penance down. This is obviously useless. These are both pretty useless too. We find Bank, which hopefully we find our Gourd with, right? But you can put Penance down and then heal it with the Blind Eye. It's probably our best bet of a win, really. It's looking pretty unlikely though, right? Doesn't look great. Just kill. Let's just damage this. Try and go somewhat unitless. And I could just search for Gourd now, and then I could use, if he's top 2 cards, I'll get an extra 3 points on my buff. Yeah, this is looking quite scary. Okay, he's top card at least. A very lackluster 10-point Gourd. I had a lot of specials still left in my deck that I just didn't draw. It was really bad, a 10-point Gourd. Wow. It's one of the worst ones I've had. Obviously, you can play this twice as well. So, the good and the bad side. I mean, you saw the power round 1. We went first, and it certainly, as I say, wasn't trying to hide anything from you. It is the worst faction this season, by the looks of things, and this is just my best attempt. I do wonder how much Disarray and Helvede are worth it for their provisions. I think Jacques is alright. Jacques, I don't know. A nice little finishing play, but of course it's not going to be enough. Maybe I took my pass earlier. Maybe I overcommitted round 2. Maybe I just overcommitted round 1 as well. Just left me with little round 3, right? Especially against monsters where you know they've got Ozerul. It's just going to be bigger than Gourd. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to head into one more game because I kind of want to play one more game with it. I don't know if it's worth trying to mix the list up at all. I think we'll stick with it for the time being. Let's just maybe, if you guys are still watching, why not? I know a few of you have wanted longer videos, so let's just see what we could do. Again, Disarray, how good is it, really? How good is Helvede? I think Igor's clearly quite brilliant. And honestly, like another Blind Eye could be good as just an option. Azar as well, not terrible. You're looking at just Syndicate only cards, and Assault's pretty lackluster in this deck, right? Upgrading an Assault to another Smuggle would help give your Helvede a bit more value. I think this card's probably too good to kick, but you just really don't have much coin generation, right? The only way you generate coins is with a single Smuggle. That's the only coins you get. So Helvede seems really, really pants. Honestly, it spawns 2 units for 10 provisions. I think we can probably pick these 2 cards to just what feel really bad about this deck, to be completely honest. You could put Azar in. Azar also spawns 2 units, very similar to Helvede does, but also has the bonus of being a defender. So maybe Azar is just better than Helvede, honestly. It's definitely possible. It does spawn 2 units. Helveed spawns too. We could put a Tsar in and we'd be left with an 11, which you need to be a special, which obviously, you know, I'm not going to put Collusion into my deck. We've got, let's just check, we've got Blind Eyes, I believe, with, have we got Blind Eyes? No, doesn't look like we've got, yeah, we've got a single Blind Eye. Crown Splitters we've got Cut-Ups, we've got Fire Swans, but no Tide Cloak. I don't think I'm ever going to put this card into one of my decks, to be honest. But I suppose it does spawn 2 Zealots. Should we just throw it in? Just for the banter, let's see how bad it is. Never used this card in my whole life. I've never used this card in my whole life. So, yeah, you can see pretty much the problem, right? Helveed, bit awkward. He's okay. Dies Array, maybe I should just use it. I don't know, man. Let's not use Collusion. It's if you want to see a Collusion deck another time, put it in the comments. Let me know if you would like to. What could you do, really? I think most of these cards you're pretty happy with. Smuggle's not that bad. It spawns a unit. I suppose you're really looking at what spawns more units, right? For a cheap-ish provision cost. Obviously, this is where Triss could come in non-devotion. But I do think, honestly, the 2 points buff you get on Ulrich is just kind of worth it. And this card's pretty damn good in round 3 as well. This card's pretty damn good if you've got 5 coins. As you can see, we don't really have ways of generating coins. You can sort of see Gord's a little bit lackluster in this sort of a list as well. But I feel like you just need to bank on Gord. It just gives you a way of winning round 3. Otherwise, you can be pretty much screwed. So, ditching Gord is one option. Don't feel great about ditching Gord, though, to be completely honest. So, I think we'll play one more game with Helveed and Dizer, because, to be honest, you know, it's okay, I guess. It's not great. Maybe Azar's just better than Helveed, though, right? This is what my streams are like often, guys. It's just spent in the deck builder. So we're still here. Yeah, I don't like Helveed that much over Azar. I think Azar's just better. And then I can upgrade a provision. Maybe I'll just ditch an Assault for another Smuggle. Smuggle gives me some more coins for the card I've just kicked. But, you know, it gives you some coins for bloody good funds. The Assaults felt pretty terrible there, to be honest, anyway. You could also put a Wheel of Fortune in if you're feeling a little bit frisky. I'm worried about that. I'm not. Go for this. Sod it. Sod it, mate. Sod it. But then again, you're using Dizer Array and you're not using Helveed. I guess. I don't know, man. It's a weird one. This is the problem, right? I think this is the big problem. This card just sucks. It needs to have some sort of profit on this card, and it would kind of be a good. I feel like it should just boost all your allied units, and then if you kill the card, it should give you profit, like 4 profit or something. That's pretty reasonable. Right, I'll probably skip ahead to when I decide on this thing. I don't know. Maybe we'll keep going with the video. Damnation, if you could get it to work, sure, it's great. Really is good. You're spawning a lot of units in. It's playing for 6, but also playing for 12 if you're getting it to work. But are you really going to manage to get it to work? I have my doubts. Maybe this is just the card you've got to go for, because it does have an incredible amount of synergy with basically plays like a Congregate, right? Which when you think about it, it's pretty bad, but you obviously get a bit of damage. How often are you getting that full value? Pretty rarely, I would say. Pretty rarely. Sod it. Let's just go with this with Dizer. I think we can kick Helveed, man. I don't think this card's very good in this deck. You need coins. When you've got coins, great card. When you don't have coins, yeah. That's very bad. Anyway, sorry for my random rambling there. We will get on to the third and final game. 1 win, 1 loss. I think we've gone first both games, so we had a bit of a silly opponent, and this is against SK now. You're going to see the problem, right? We go super tall and just get ready. Okay, we don't want obviously double of these because it bricks my Justice, and you don't really want Gord at all. So obviously Helveed does also have some synergy with Penance, and luckily my Ulrich is not completely bricked because I do have a Fallen Knight, but a much worse hand than what we have been experiencing before. We will see what we can do. I've got access to 0 congregates as well. This is pretty damn slow, right? I guess we could play this and try and bait out some removal. But yeah, you can see this card, man. It's just super awkward, man. I feel like maybe you're just not supposed to play Gord and try and fit more Firesworn type cards in. Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go, if anything, from this deck that I've shared with you. It's the only real other way I can think of getting this deck to even have anything decent going for it. Maybe a couple of blind eyes. But again, you can see they're pretty awkward in this hand. Dyes of Rage just feels pretty terrible. You could, of course, go the non-devotion route, but I think... I don't know. Portal feels pretty bad. I think this card's really good with Igor. Yeah, it's just all a bit awkward. It just doesn't all quite work together particularly well. It just feels like a bit of a mishmash of different ideas. So I'm pretty sure I put the Fallen Knight down and it just dies straight away. But equally, you know, it's just going to be huge points in round 3 or round 2 if it does stick, which is just going to get wrecked. I could have committed a leader charge, maybe, try and force out a decoction from him rather than a stunning blow, but he actually goes for a great sword and buffs it up to 5, which is a bit of a pain. Actually 6. I'm going to use double leader charge here and take it out. Leader in round 1. Doesn't feel good. But if we can win this on even, it maybe gives us half a chance against Skellige. Even then, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, I would imagine. We shall see. Again, how good is this card, really? It's not quite an 8 for 4, right? This is probably not playing for 8 points itself, and this is playing for 8 for 4. That's the difference. Okay, we'll call the Smuggle in here. Gives me 7 removal next turn to deal with this. And I think, you know, double Smuggle if you're playing all these Firesworn cards with Igor does make a lot of sense too, right? It really does. As I say, maybe you just kick Gord. I think you'd keep Senior and you'd try and keep a lot of these crime cards, like Tavern Brawl's just really good, generally speaking. And then maybe you could even kick Azar's alright too, to be fair. He's decent enough. He does spawn 2 units in, right? And he's a defender ultimately. Maybe you could kick Dyes Array because I don't really like it that much. I think it's pretty pants. It's alright. But playing it twice, it's like, yeah, you get to play it twice. Oh wait, it's kind of average. Kind of average. So how good is that actually that you can play it twice? He gets a greatsword down, which obviously I'd like to kill this, but I'm going to kill the greatsword, of course, here. Unfortunately, I'm wasting quite a few coins. Guess we could be a bit cheeky and wait a turn. We could be a bit cheeky and wait a turn. Am I going to regret that decision? Probably. I could always Exco and find Assault or Tavern Brawl. That'll do the job too, so I think I'm going to be a bit cheeky.
Alone shall you wander until the end of days, cursed and shat upon. Now this is a knife.
So Assault wouldn't do it, right? Oh no, it does. He doesn't have... Yeah, Assault does it. I was thinking he had a ship down. Assault does do it. The cheekiness pays off. And then that means I could take this out next turn with my coins. Obviously, Dyes Array. Am I ever using it? You can see Penance is a bit awkward as well when you kick Old Matey. So, I mean, you could argue maybe you keep most of this and you actually ditch Penance, but it just seems like such a good card, right?
The time has come.
He actually uses this, so it's not even great value on my Bloody Good Fun. Still worth 7 points though, right? Winning this round is absolutely crucial here. So I could use leader and then Penance plays for 8 points. And then I could maybe Dies Array next turn. Would also give my Bloody Good Fun a bit of value. Need to leader first, of course.
Yes, you. Have you made your offer?
Obviously, I've invested my leader now. It's a bit pants. But hopefully you can see the upsides, downsides of the deck. I guess I'm getting a little bit of value off this. I could spend the coins on my Apocryphy. Suppose for 3 extra points. 3 coins for 3 points. I've got a chance of Igor in the following round. If he sticks. Not a great play by my opponent. I think I don't really want anything boosted up too much, so I might just go for the heal here. Yeah, I'm going to spend my coins, sod it.
Alchemy's the past. Radio alchemy. Now that's the future.
So you can see Penance does have some synergy with the Blind Eye as well. But you could also use Becker's and Greater Brothers and go the non-devotion route. But I think the payoff on this +2 is honestly worth it just to keep this card alive. And then as you put Igor down and you can use him straight away. You can actually answer this as well. I mean, Dies Array actually answers this really nicely in a turn, so I could be a bit cheeky, right? Guess it's not guaranteed I get Dies Array down, but that gets ahead of him. This might be a half decent card. Or it might not be, and you know, whatever. I didn't play my Dies Array, who cares? Thanks, Sunshine. He likes it. Unfortunately, I used my leader. That would be the obvious downside, right? God knows what I'm really supposed to do at this point. I've got Gord for about 2 points. I've got Senior with no real synergy. Let's kick Dies Array because it's pretty damn terrible. I mean, as hands go, it's very good. A very, very good hand. I think we're just forced into passing really and see if we can beat him. We shall see. I am not too hopeful, honestly, against SK. So a Fallen Knight would be okay, but it probably just gets answered straight away. I guess we've got Azar though. Maybe Senior could be kicked as well, because I don't really have... he's alright. I'm just not spending the profit. Okay, I found my Dies Array again. Do I really want this card? Not massively. I've got Gord. He's playing for 8 points. Super lackluster, right? He's going to get a bit better, but... Right, I guess you're not kicking this card. It doesn't seem worth kicking it. I guess I could keep this. Obviously, Jaquez is kind of a bit of a don. We find a Fallen Knight, which is pretty good still, I guess. I could put this down on an open board. Probably just dies though. I just leads in like that. Got no answers to it in my deck, unfortunately, either. Guess we're just doing this and seeing if it sticks. I doubt it. This is where you could like leader 2 or 3 times to keep out of decoction range.
A superb
Ooh,
specimen.
ACB MN follows me when I'm not even streaming. That's kind of spooky.
Here's the better loot than in your wildest, wettest dreams.
Still can't answer this card, alright. So I could deny the tribute, which just gives me senior value. I think you probably need to play it though, right? I might just wait on it. I might do this first. Yeah. Let's just play it. We're spawning 2 units, just like Helvede would, essentially, right? But obviously we get the bonus of it being defender. If it is a few less points, it's 2 less points, but you can't really argue with including this card over Helvede, I think. Helvede would be nice if you had more coin generation. there's not really a good way of generating coins that's not free pants. You've got Roderick, I think he's called. So we'll call Justicid next, I guess. We might senior one of the scarabs if he removes the armor and one sticks. Obviously I'm playing Devotion and I've just got no tool punish, right? Which is really bad. Well, I've got Tavern Brawl. But yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't look like I'm going to have enough.
This'll all be yours, boy, if you survive.
Yeah, doesn't look like it's going to be enough. So you see the problem, right? Even if you win on even, not going to have enough. So I think El Gordo's got to go, really. Don't think he's good enough. And that just changes the complexion of the deck. You could try play Greater Brothers with Beckers and that kind of thing that I've played before. But you just can't compete with these cards, really. The balance is pretty atrocious. To be completely brutal, it's pretty terrible. If you just compare, like, this is the new Syndicate deck, compare it to this, it's pretty unbelievable how far they are in levels of power. Unfortunate, it really is. Obviously, sure, I could have bled him, but, you know. Plays for 12 here. Plays for 14. Yeah. Yikes. So, yeah, there's the deck. My initial assessment, obviously we saw the first game. Pretty accurate, it's pretty terrible. Great crime card for 55 provisions. So, anyway, I'll end the video there. I'm going to hop into the deck builder real quick. And, bribery player. Nice. And, oh, that hurts. We'll see what the deck might look like if you do ditch Gord, which I feel like you're kind of left with little choice but to ditch him. You're just so all in on your Fallen Knights, right? Like, you commit them and what have you got left? Very, very little. You ditch Gord, which maybe just allows you to ditch this absolutely pants card. I think it's so bad. At first I was like, yeah, I was like, this sucks. Then I was like, okay, maybe it's good. And now, yeah, I've played it again and I'm like, yeah, this card sucks, man. I said to myself last time I played it, I'd never play it again. But I did. Now, obviously, you could just go like non-devotion unit, use Portal, stuff like that. Also, Triss is pretty good. I've explained like 10 times already. I wonder if there's a way of getting Collusion in that could be half decent. Because you are spawning two Firesworn Zealots, right? In fact, if you've got Blind Eyes, you're spawning 3, which is pretty damn good. You got Crown Splitters, which you will have. This is a Crown Splitter. This is a Crown Splitter. Cut-ups. Maybe we'll try that. I don't know, man. I mean, you could also make an argument you could still use Gord. Maybe you just have to use Gord as like a way of winning. And you just ditch the Smuggler again for an assault. I guess that's worth a try. But should we give it a game? Should we give it a spin? Yeah, I'm going to call it there. I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to see me play Collusion, let me know. But unfortunately, Syndicate, absolutely dog. It's so bad. Fallen Knight, unbelievably good. Everything else, pants. Absolutely pants. You can go the Devotion route, but you've got no tool removal. The Echo card is just embarrassingly bad, I think. It's, in my opinion, it's just terrible. You could maybe get some more use out of it, where you are just committing to using Helveed and stuff like that, more consistently with coins, but yeah, it's a struggle for sure. Anyway, I hope you really hope you enjoyed the video. Longer one today. Yeah, probably Nilfgaard and SK tomorrow. Maybe some Northern Realm stuff. I have also got a non-symbiosis Spellitel deck that I just stole off Red Dream. Essentially, I had one that was very similar, and then someone told me Red Dream had been playing it, and I looked at his list and it made a little bit more sense. So I could post that if you're down for that as well. If you watched this far in the video, thank you so much for the support. Take care. See ya.